Looking for one of the worst departments in the Northern Virginia area? Enjoy low morale, poor leaders, and commanders who sue each other? Look no further. The Alexandria City Police Department is the place for you. And we'll throw in being one of the lowest paid. Woo! If you love abuse, we love to abuse. Act now.
The issues discussed on the Roll Call Room podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. Any characters discussed on this show may be fictional for comedic value unless you're a shitbag Steve. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the podcast that changed the game and rocked an entire profession. Talking about shit in law enforcement that keeps poor leaders up at night. When others run scared and hide behind fake policies, the Roll Call Room podcast tells it like it is. No bullshit. No matter how hard these thieves try, we keep killing it. And now, here are your hosts, Nick and Mark.
300 dicks unlocked. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Roll Call Room podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nick. With me is the wonderful, amazing Mark the Cop. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, my friend. Good morning. I'm doing well. I'm so excited. We haven't recorded in a while.
I know. Life, work, it's been a while, right?
Well, it's been a little bit. It's not on. What do I want to say? It isn't what we had planned. It's like we always say. So you want to do a podcast, huh?
People have no idea what it took to even hit record just now. Like, I got sounds not coming out right, and then because you and I are super picky about the sound, and, which is good because you don't want to fucking sound like you're you're recording in a fucking paper bag and
talking like here, let me put this kazoo in my mouth.
Yeah, it's how many podcasts I listen to and I'm like, come on, just fucking,
or they sound like they're way back here.
Yeah, we do a sound check. And so I went, I've been traveling a lot with work, and that's kind of what's delayed us taping.
What? You don't do this full time?
I know. And somebody messaged me yesterday when I was driving back from Philly for work, and they were like, "You haven't put out an episode in a while." I was like, "Yeah, I'm traveling a lot," and they're like, "You can't just do it on the road." And I'm like,
"Well, we could, but it would sound like we're doing it on the road."
Yeah, I'm not putting a fucking earbud in my ear and then recording an episode. I wouldn't even want to listen to that. No. And there's a lot of folks that do that stuff. I don't really like listening to podcasts where you're using your laptop microphone. That there's a reason why they're so small, because they suck.
Yeah, well, and you're right. Sound quality is everything, and it's the shows that I've been affiliated with. I mean, how much money did we spend? We're seeing the Shure microphones, and I had a colleague say, "Hey, man, nice, man, $250 microphone you're talking into."
But that wasn't right away. We did that, and I was going to say that I started out with a $34 microphone times two, one for Mike, one for me. And then I slowly progressed up. I bought a $65 microphone, then I bought an $80 microphone, and then so on and so forth. You build up to it. But it's it's kind of like a hooker. The more you spend, the better.
The more freak you get.
I think I don't know. I've never subscribed, or they've never shown up.
Yeah. There you go. Did you ever work any Vice in your city?
I worked a couple. Yeah.
People lost their mind. We had a woman running an escort service, and she was on full welfare and living in government housing, and she's running girls out of her apartment. And
that's normal.
Yeah, exactly. But these people were pissed. They're like, she's trying to recruit these girls out of here, blah, blah, blah. Well, she finally had made enough money to where she got off the government. No, wait a minute. She was still in government housing. She just got a better one.
I would never give that up.
Right.
I'll never give up that 1-bedroom roach-infested government housing. Why would you give that up?
Well, up here in my world, they're a little nicer. But they're 2-bedroom, roach infested.
2-bedroom with 16 people living inside of it.
Exactly. But
that always made me laugh when like we would do a search warrant, or I'd go in there for like a domestic or something, and they got a nicer TV than me. They have 4 gaming systems. They've got 50 games for each gaming system, sneakers that are 300 plus each, and you're like, when I would watch the news, because I don't, eventually I just stopped watching it. I'm like, you see all these people on there like, we're broke, we can't pay our cops, we can't pay our teachers. And you're like, sure you can. Start cutting back and start making folks go get a fucking job. Like, welfare was
giving them the
for a
damn money
reason.
away.
Right. It was for a reason, which was to get you on your feet, not keep you on your ass. And I think that's where it's kind of lost its luster. And there are legitimate people. Like, there were people in public housing that were disabled that couldn't work. I'm all for that. Like, that's, is humanitarian. I get it. I understand. It's not Ukraine where we're given billions of dollars and,
we're not going down that route today, because I would not get off it. I would not get off my soapbox.
I will. I tell you, we could quickly turn this into a political podcast.
But then we would be giving the commanders a break, and we're not doing that.
No. Fuck.
We're the 2 worst people to be after you, I guess, would be a good thing. So, a funny thing. I'm sorry. Finish your thought. But I have a good. Well, every year, I was the honor guard coordinator in my area here for many, many years, and we always did. We can't say it, but to put it in a good attitude or thought, it was shop with the cop is basically what it was.
We did that. Yeah.
Someone's what do I want to say, patented it. They didn't patent it, but they registered it or whatever. They owned the name, so you can't use it anymore. So we did like cops and communities or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
So every year, when it first started, or when I first became involved in it, we would get like of course, the SWAT vans were what in those days, an old medic, right? There was no, it was just a matter of hauling people, or an old bread truck, that they painted black, flat black with rattle cans and put yellow SWAT on the side of it, because most of those trucks, you didn't have any money to do anything with. So we had an old medic in a van, in the jail van. So we would go out and deliver and not hand delivered, but personally deliver the presents. So we have a Meijer store here, which is a superstore, and we would take them shopping the week before, and then we would all go out to the FOP lodge, wrap their presents, and then the next week we would deliver them. Okay. But it looked like we were raiding the fucking place. So more than one time in particular, we were in the city of Piqua, and we roll up, and dudes start coming out the second store window, jumping onto the back roof and running. And I'm like,
no warrants today, buddy.
We really
Relax.
need to look at a different way to do this, because, it's going to be a matter of time. We're there, hey, and my, God rest his soul, this guy's name was Dick Rice, and he was a full beard, real Santa. I mean, he really got into it, so he did it year long. Just a real man of God that loved doing it. So Dick was there, and we go in, and the joke was, or the what you were looking for is, how big's the ashtray?
Yeah.
How hot is it in there?
Oh, yeah.
How big is the big screen TV?
Yep.
And these people can't buy Christmas for their kids. And we went into this one place, and I swear to God, they took an old hubcap and flipped it upside down, and it looked like they were building the pyramids from Egypt.
With cigarettes.
Just a mound of them. The place just stunk. It was like 85 degrees in there. There's old dude on his full wall television he just got at the Rent-A-Center, with his Xbox, with a cigarette hanging out of his face.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, just put it over there, man.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Where's the kids?
Yeah.
You had one job. Where's your kids?
It's funny that you say that, because when I was a cops officer, community policing officer, nice cop, before I got promoted to sergeant and went into the cops unit as the sergeant, I was a cops officer, and I started a program called Cops for Christmas. And I started the program, and I guess you would say partner, he had the neighborhood next to me, but he was like, he never fucking came up with anything original. And he was one of those guys that drove your coattails. Like, you would come up with an idea, and then all of a sudden it would be his idea also. But
sure.
I digress. So I came up with this idea, and we went house by house, and we got a shopping list for the kids in the community. And then we went and bought Christmas gifts with like donation money, and from Walmart, had a grant program, different things. And it was funny because we would go like 3 days before Christmas to go deliver these things, and we would go like 10 o'clock in the morning, and they weren't even fucking up. Like, the people in that community.
Shocker.
Because they stay up till 3-4 in the morning doing whatever they do, and then they sleep till 3-4 in the afternoon. So it was always funny, because as that program got bigger, so I grew it from that to partnering up with Toys for Tots, and we would go pick up 4,000 or 5,000 toys, bring them back to headquarters. We'd put them on a trailer, and we would drive around the public housing area and throw toys off the trailers. And it was always funny because 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, we would have to blow the air horns to wake up these people. And a funny story about that, I want to digress, because I want to point something out about my old department too, that may or may not have been known. So when we would go get these 4,000 or 5,000 toys from Toys for Tots, we would put them in the bike shed, where all the police bikes were. And commanders and other people in the police department would go into the bike shed and take toys for their kids.
Oh, man.
So it was a constant struggle because I would go in there,
I was
and
afraid you were going to say that.
It's ironic because of how like my investigation like circled around theft and stuff like that. And I look around and I remember stuff like that where I'm like, you had lieutenants blatantly going in to the bike shed and shopping because there were primo toys. Because this was around when Toys R Us was still around, and Toys R Us was donating buku toys and stuff. And I would go in there, and we would segregate anything weapon wise. Like, so we would never give out any water guns, any kind of anything that looked like a weapon we wouldn't give out. So we would segregate it to the side. Those always got raided first. So like I would go in the bike shed and I would be like, wait a minute. There were like 50 dart guns yesterday. Why are there only 10? It was because, that would
command staff
happen.
went in there and took them off for their grandkids and whatever
it was like
else.
This command staff, civilian staff.
Their kids. They were my age and probably had young kids at home.
Yeah.
Second or third family.
It was so hilarious, man, because I would walk through the hallways and I would get stopped and they would be like, when are you picking up Toys for Tots this year? And I'm like, in my head, I would go, oh, so you can go and steal like fucking toys.
You need free toys for your kids, you fuck.
It's just fucking amazing, man. It's funny you sparked that memory in me, and it segues into.
I'm sorry, Nick. You have to spend another hour in therapy over that.
Yeah, and it segues into another thing we kind of alluded to it before we hit record. I had a former cop. Well, he's still there. Text message me. I've had the same phone number. It hasn't changed. Those of you that are still listening to it at my old department, it's still the same phone number. He text messaged me out of the blue and he was like, hey, Nick, it's, and he gave his name and I was like, hey, what's up, man? How you been? And he's like, listen, I'm really sorry that I dropped off communication with you. They really like instilled the fear of God into us that if we talk to you, we're going to get in a lot of trouble. And I was like, really? Yes. He goes, you know that they put a fucking bolo out. They put your picture around headquarters when you put the first book around.
No way.
Yeah, I just found out about this because we used to do this when I worked there. If there was a former person that we either fired or they resigned,
Yeah.
and we felt like they were a threat to us, we would do a bolo poster with their picture on it, and we would give it to security at the front desk, and we would say, if they come in here, contact the watch commander immediately. And elevated to that level. I made it.
You leveled up.
I leveled up,
I'm so proud of you. Just like golf applause. You made the Alexandria Bolo list.
No threat, and it didn't take me any threats. It didn't take me anything other than a book.
Well, wait a minute, because I read something on John Maxwell the other day. They were talking about the professionals are the company that you keep.
Yeah. So it's funny because he said he goes. So now that I'm talking to you, he goes, I got to tell you, everybody, even the newer officers that don't even know who you are through now the podcast and your books, because they've been there for like 2 years. So I've been gone for over 3, I think.
Yeah.
And they're like, the way you troll the mayor on Twitter and the way you troll the department, we fucking love it. We all screenshot it and we pass it around. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing it for you guys. Like, I'm not doing it for me.
You got a set of grapefruit side cojones hanging down there between your legs.
I got nothing to lose. Like, I don't work for your city. I'm never going to work for your city. And
you're not getting back into law enforcement. You know, most of these guys are like, oh my God, I'll get a bad review. Dude, they're going to give you a bad review anyway. If you're in fear of leaving because you're afraid what people are going to say when you go out the door, it doesn't matter. You could walk out there, hand them all a check for $100,000 and a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. They will still talk shit about you when you walk out the door. They'll never say, oh man, Nick was so great to me and he was a great supervisor. I shouldn't say never. But and I had this discussion just the other day with Kelly, and Kelly is coaching a colleague that left, and that was the colleague's biggest fear was what they're going to talk bad about me when I leave. Motherfucker, they're going to do that anyway because they're miserable and they're jealous of you because you had the balls to go. And good for you for having the cojones to say, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore.
Yeah. Law enforcement now is 13th grade. You know, it's
no, it isn't, dude. You're right back in 7th.
But it's like,
no, 13th grade gives a little bit of maturity to it. It's less than that. This is middle school. This is where, you got boobies now, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like there's no. I mean, and it was interesting because I got to pick this person's brain. Like I text messaged them and I was like, has anything gotten better there? And he's like, no, it's gotten worse.
Oh my goodness.
Like it went right back to it's who you know and who you blow. It's, you know, they toted that they had a record number of recruits that they hired and sent to the academy, which was 30. Out of the 30, only 12 actually made it to the street.
Oh my
out of 30.
God.
That's embarrassing. That's
2/3.
Yeah, it's
2/3 of the class didn't pass.
Yeah, and out of the 12, how many of those do you think are going to stay over 2 years?
No,
5, 6.
You know, police work right now is like restaurant work in the old days. You know, you're going to be constantly hiring and firing. You see a constant revolving door. You know, it's like my former agency. A lot of, you know, and they got a substantial pay raise. And what I told them all, I said, you know, you can make all the money you want, but if you're miserable and you got a jackass for a boss, I don't care how much money you got because you know your happiness is number one. And what's our problem, Nick? What are we doing? The most preventable death right now is police suicide. And if you're working for some knucklehead that is micromanaging or heaven forbid you misstep and have a minor misstep and they throw the books at you plus. You know, how does that sit on your psyche every day? How does that once you know, because I tell you what, when I loved my job, man, I'd come home, sleep in my uniform. I mean, I was the guy that, you know, got dressed at home and I would stop and handle calls on the way to work. And, you know, I was starting up a vehicle install because I put the red and blue lights in the cars and the radios and all that. So me and a friend of mine were going to start our own upstart business and start building police cars. So my demo car was my personal car, right? So I already had the lights on it. And
Wow.
so, I would do stuff like that going to and from work. But, when that switched, nope, dude, I started changing at work, didn't do anything outside the job, didn't take any overtime, and management did that. Management killed that. And what breaks my heart, and after he leaves, well, I'd like to have him on the show. They crushed one of my officers. I mean, just crushed his soul like a grape because he loved this job. And the hand job they gave him for nothing was just ridiculous. But it's a story that's over and over and over. So
yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where in the country you are. I hear it all the freaking time. I hear it all the fucking time.
And it's not getting better.
No, it's getting, and suicide, law enforcement suicides, like in the business that I'm in now, we rate our success by how much we cut numbers down. We determine a project's success by saying, okay, last year we were at 87%. Now we're at 40%. It's working.
Right.
You have organizations out there, and the last episode that we did that I'm about to release, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of shit about naming one of the suicide prevention organizations, but I really don't care. Poker runs don't prevent law enforcement suicide.
No.
Making pretty graphs about how many law enforcement suicides versus line of duty deaths don't reduce suicide. No. When you start holding meaningful conversations and holding law enforcement leadership responsible for upwards of 60 to 70% of law enforcement suicides, then I'll start believing in your cause. Then I'll start pushing your agenda again, because when we first started Roll Call Room, I was pushing an organization hard. And then you start peeling back the layers and you're like, what are you really doing for law enforcement suicide?
Zero.
Other than these poker runs, or other than taking in government money. And then you look at their 501(c) paperwork that they file with the with the feds. And you're like, holy shit, you got a lot of money going out.
Yeah. A lot under miscellaneous.
A lot under miscellaneous.
You're not getting audited for this?
It's just I have more respect for Saw, where you know where the money is going. It's a week of disconnect. And you and I have talked about this. I was supposed to
let's go ahead and give them a plug since you're talking about it.
Yeah. Saw,
SaveAwarrior.com.
SaveAwarrior.com. I was supposed to do a cohort there when I first started with the company that I'm with right now. It happened to work. The day I was supposed to go for the cohort, the next day I started at my company, so I had to cancel my cohort. I don't regret it because I love where I work now, and it was the best thing that happened in my life. But SAW is by far the ones that are doing it right now. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're not nearly bringing in as much as these help organizations that do these poker runs. And what has happened with certain organizations, and I won't name it specifically, is they're now a catchphrase. Now that they've built themselves up as a big brand, departments are clinging to them because they're safe. Right. They go, oh, well, they've been around. They go to these conventions. They hand out swag. They hand out pens and water bottles. I can hook up with them and they're going to solve my suicide problem. No, because you are the problem.
Yeah.
You are the fucking problem. And these organizations won't turn around.
If you want to know your problem. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah. No, you're good. And these organizations won't turn around and at a conference turn around and be like, you know what your biggest problem is? Your sergeants from sergeant and above is your biggest problem, because the sergeant level has the most amount of influence on your knuckle draggers, your road dogs. And if your sergeants are treating people like shit and they're not fucking recognizing, because you know this for a fact, Mark, somebody walks in to your roll call that works for you, you fucking know something's going on. Something's off. You know. Yeah. And there's a couple of things. You're either turning your fucking blind eye to it, or you're ignoring it because you don't want it to be your problem. But it will be your problem when they put a fucking flag over that person's coffin.
Yeah.
Or then you don't have the backing. Right. Or you don't have the backing. You don't have the backing from up above, because still we're in an era where when you talk about mental health and law enforcement and you're still on the job, dude, you are going to get fucking benched. You are going to get
rubber
benched.
gun squad is what we called it. Can I jump in here?
Go ahead, jump in, bud. Jump.
I just had this talk with a colleague in training last week. Great dude. He's in the adjoining agency and he's a senior sergeant now. I'm really proud of him. He was telling me about, and I got on my tangent because I put a post up on the Shield Within about police body cams and how my former knucklehead coward boss wanted us auditing them for policy violations. Like, fuck you.
Completely
so he was telling me
what they're there for.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Completely against what they're there for.
Yeah, exactly. And when he sold it to us, the bill of sale was, oh, well, it's going to vindicate you versus, persecuting you, but we're going to persecute you so the public doesn't have to. Is what that means. And that mentality right there, is what starts. We talk about ethics and the opening dialogue in the ethics block at the police academy is it all starts with cup of coffee, which, by the way, Roll Call Room Cafe is back open with its coffee, so it is excellent. That's what I'm drinking this morning.
Roll Call Room.
So it all starts with a cup of coffee. So you accept that free cup of coffee and blah 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 blah. So just like with the videos, it starts with, well, we got the video. So he was telling me one of his junior sergeants who had a hard on because someone did something in his past. So now that I'm a sergeant, I'm going to go stop this shit. So he went in and started looking through the videos for these certain behaviors. And he said, fucking stop it. And the junior sergeant said, well, what do you mean? You're just the same rank as I am. He says, as your fucking senior sergeant, I'm ordering you to stop. And the guy looked at him because the guy wasn't smart enough to realize that Warbo sergeants, you can't tell me what the fuck to do. Because we had that in my agency. I'm like, you know what? Only thing senior means to me is you get a better dib on the schedule than I do. So fuck off. Yeah. But, and then he basically said, look, dude, stop doing this because all you're going to do is piss our officers off. And I need them to work with us, not against us. Stop it. Because if you don't stop it, I am going to take it up to the next level. They will tell you. I'm telling you right now to quit it. So it's that hatchet man mentality that these junior guys is. And there again, I think it all falls back to the basic principle of you don't have a mentor that's helping you along. And I don't want to get into past shows topics, but we need to be putting our people first, folks. It's just that simple. I ran into my old captain from the sheriff's department at the police academy graduation. He was there because his grandson was graduating. Had a talk with him. I said, did your grandson tell you I was bragging about you in the class? He says, no, did you, you old bat? He goes, these guys, you son of a bitch, you old bastard. That kind of mentality. And but he took care of his people. I mean, he give you a fucking ass chewing. I mean, I took a few ass chewings from him, but when you're done, it's done. All right, we done? Yeah. Okay, will you get coffee? Okay. And it was over with, So again, put people first. When you have genuine, is it empathy? Is that right?
Yeah.
Apathy, empathy and apathy. And sorry, it's a little early in the morning. But when I don't want to see your email. Well, I really appreciate all the hard work you show it, motherfucker. Don't tell me about it in an email. Matter of fact, when you walk through the room, my old boss used to take him in. Hey, how's the Mark doing today? Well, Chief, I'm doing good. How are you? And he'd pull out a chair and sit down with his coffee and, how's your day going? How's your family? Blah, blah, blah. I could. He'd just spend 3 minutes and chat. And he says, well, I got to get over here. I just want to stop and say hi. Out he goes. To me, that meant a lot. Kelly told me her old chief, his wife made homemade pies. And he would come in at roll call, each roll call differently, and bring one of her pies in and give all the guys pies and sit there and eat it with them. And I thought, man, that's super cool. I like that a lot. That's someone that fucking cares. Sorry, I'm on a tangent.
Yeah, no, you're good. You don't have to lose the human element when you start climbing the ranks. Like my team that I have right now in the company that I'm in, whenever I get on the phone with the folks that work for me, I'm always asking them, how's your family doing? I try and keep involved in their personal life, but not in an intrusive way. Like if they've got something going on at home, I'm like, hey, what happened with that thing we talked about last time? Like, did you get that water heater fixed? How much did that cost? And all this other, like, I want to be involved, but they also know that when it comes down to it, I'm going to hold them accountable for things that need to be done. And if they're not done, I'm going to hold them accountable. It's not personal. It's business. And I've always been that way. I mean, I have fallen short. I remember being newly promoted as a sergeant. You know, my old chief that retired, not the dickbag that I got fired. You know, he handed me my stripes. Yeah. He handed my stripes and my badge, and he was like, he goes, you know, you report to midnights tomorrow. Welcome to management. And I told you this on the phone. It kind of put a shiver down my back, but it also gave me a bad starting point, because I was like, okay, now I'm part of management, so now I gotta do this. And I had some faults. Like there were some short misses when I first became a sergeant, because I was like, okay, I can't be their friend. I gotta fucking be the hammer.
And there's where everyone loses. Right. Yeah, but did you have a mentor? Right. Did you have someone taking you under your wing saying, hey, Nick, no, let me show you how this gets done. Let me show you the real aspect.
I worked on a shift. So I reported to midnights after being promoted, and they were like, hey, you're gonna partner up with this sergeant. You're not going to drive in the same car as them. You'll just drive behind them from call to call. And the first call out of the gate was a rape. No. And I show up on scene. And,
I mean, was it a real rape, or was it, hey, I just fucked your buddy?
No, it was a legit. It was legit. And so I got out of the supervisor car, fucking gold shining off of my fucking chest, brand new uniform. Because when you get promoted, you get brand new uniforms, you know. And I'm fucking like, I got that swag going on, and I go up to the scene, and I'm watching this sergeant who she had just been promoted, like, I want to say like a year ago, or maybe about a year ago. And she did such a fucking terrible job on scene that I turned around and I was like, you know what? I'm good for the rest of the shift. If I have any questions, I'll reach out to you. And I spent every waking moment for the next like couple of shifts, every policy that I can get my hand on, I would scroll all the way to the bottom, and it would say supervisor's responsibility, and I would memorize it.
Yes.
And this was my favorite saying to my team, my first ever team when I became a sergeant. I don't know all of the answers, but I will find out. I will find them. So have patience with me. Understand, I'm brand new at this. But you know, if I don't know the answers, I know where to find them. So
perfect
give me a
answer, bro. Perfect answer.
I never, because I've worked for a lot. I worked for one guy. I worked for him when he was a sergeant. I worked for him when he was a lieutenant. I worked for him when he was a captain, and he was an asshole all three times. So much so that he became my lieutenant when I was a sergeant, and I took my badge off and put it on his fucking desk and said to him, you know what? I'm not going through this again with you. We can go up to the chief's office and I'll hand my badge in. I'll go back down to being a patrol officer. That's how fucking bad he was. But what he would do when he first got promoted to sergeant, our group would laugh, because he would show up on scene and he would leave his mobile computer up, and we would peek inside of his cruiser, and he would have the directive up down to where it said supervisor's responsibility. And what he would do is, instead of owning it and being like, hey, listen, I've never handled this call as a supervisor, he would pawn it off like he was a master at handling this call as a supervisor.
Oh, this is below me. Here's Sergeant. Take care of this.
And we would all like snicker behind his back and be like, dude, we see on your computer you were reading what to do on your way here. There's no shame in that. Like, there's no shame in not knowing how to do a job.
The fuck up.
Just like it was, and he did that through his whole entire fucking career. Like,
well, it's because
his
it
whole
worked.
Career.
It's because it worked, and I'm sure you probably called him out on it, because you'd already told me.
We hated each other. We hated each other, bro.
Holy
shit!
Police work isn't hard, and it is all being able to think on your feet and apply common sense and basic humanity. That's policing.
I think we've lost that, though.
Yeah, we have lost it, because we have kids teaching kids. We don't understand how bad COVID fucked everything. So, and we're not going to go down that government route, but it fucked us in so many ways because all the old guys like me, yeah, we're getting out. I was on Scott Medlin's show, and I had just taught the Update Academy where there's a bunch of cops getting back into law enforcement, and I'm really pleased with that. First, I'm like, get the fuck out! What are you doing? Because I was displaying my values because I absolutely have no desire to ever carry a badge again, nor do I have the capacity to. Meaning, my body is miserably failing on me as we sit here. But these guys are getting back in, and their mentor, their the ability to mentor the next generation. When you have 2-year cops that have been on jobs for 2 years as FTOs, we got a fucking problem.
Yeah,
and it's an epidemic. And now we don't
lack of options.
Yeah.
Lack of options.
Or worse yet, a colleague of mine at a major police agency here in Ohio, they have cadets sitting at the training academy, graduated. They don't have FTOs. So they're sitting there waiting for their time to get in the car. So they're doing busy work with them. That's where we're at. I mean, we got the cops. We can't get them trained. We can't get them on the street. So it's kind of like, maybe you should put them in like a limo or a van. Take 5 guys to every call.
I weep. I really weep for our former profession, my friend. I really do. And it segues into this. As a former sergeant,
oh wow,
did you ever have a pet peeve where you would show up on scene and you would see cruisers still turned on, running, and or unlocked and running?
Oh my God, bro, we can talk. This is an entire show.
Yeah,
this is an entire show. Now on scene,
I'm going somewhere with it.
Oh, as you always do. But let me get my 2 cents in, and then I'm going to slide the soapbox over to you. On scene, I'm not so upset about.
Mm-hmm.
Unsecured on scene, I'm really upset about. Unsecured on scene with the windows down, I'm upset about. Unsecured on scene, windows down, prisoner partition open, because we had the window in ours, and the prisoner in the back not being observed, I'm really upset about, because it's been more than one time where they slipped their cuffs and took our car or just got out. Well, ours, we just got out, but in our area, we've had vehicles taken.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's
ways to prevent it. Do you want me to do that, or you want me to...
Well, it was a huge pet peeve of mine when I would show up on scene and I would see, they would be inside somebody's house, and you can hear the compressor from the air conditioner click on and click off, and there's like 5-6 cars.
Yeah,
it was a huge pet peeve of mine because, you make it really easy to break the glass and take off with a car if the car is running, whether or not it's locked or it's not locked. And it was a constant problem. So much so, I never documented people for it. What I would do is I would take their cars and I would drive it down the block. And then I'd walk up to the scene.
Yeah.
And then, like, when we were done, I would never tell them. So when we were done dealing with that call,
that's funny.
I would go, all right, I'll see you all on the next one. And, you break off. And then be that one officer that's like, hold up, where the fuck is my cruiser? And I would just be like, I don't know. And I bring this up because since the last time we recorded this, there was an incident in the DC area where a medic left a ambulance open and running, and a suspect that stole a tractor trailer, creamed into 3 people, jumped in this ambulance, and then drove off, high-speed pursuit with Virginia State Police.
Oh, my God.
This ambulance crashes into 13 people because of his neglect and his just carelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit home because one of those 13 people was my daughter.
Oh, man. She okay?
And she's got some injuries. So, of course, we have an attorney, so I have to be very careful what I can say.
Oh, sure.
So when she called me hysterically crying, she's like, this ambulance just hit me and took off. And the first thing I thought of was this ambulance was going code, and they had somebody in the back that was coding, and she didn't get out of the way fast enough, and they kind of shoved her out of the way. Even that is bad. Like, you know, as an EVOC instructor, that's pretty bad. Yeah. But I would have accepted it. As
we're not in Baghdad anymore. You're not allowed to hit the public to get them out of the way.
Well, and so like I was like, she's calling hysterically. She's like, and then a state trooper was behind it. And I'm like, oh shit. The first thing I thought of was, I was like, oh shit, did a state trooper get shot? And this was an escort. Yeah. That's where my heart went right away. It wasn't vindictive or anything like that. And then so I call the non-emergency for Virginia State Police, which anybody that's out there from that agency, stellar Department of Emergency Communication. I enjoyed being hung up on 4 times and then put on perma hold. Absolutely fantastic for an emergency call center. Just top notch, like right up there with Six Flags Great Adventure. And the dispatcher didn't take my
info. Put you on hold.
Well, the dispatcher goes, we have a major incident going on right now. That's probably what your daughter was involved in. And I was like, well, the ambulance hit my daughter. I'd like to get a phone call back. And she's like, do you want to leave your information? And I'm like, am I training you, or is this your first day on the job? Like, you should be asking me for my information.
Yeah.
Like, I'm calling emergency communications. And so she takes down my information. And I later discovered that this ambulance was stolen. And it enraged me, because how incompetent are you that you, and I had to do some educating. I called you, FD Donnie, and I had to educate myself, which was, okay, maybe they had to leave the keys and the car running, the ambulance running, because if they had a patient, the stuff in the back, like the oxygen and the lights, don't work unless it's on. And then I was educated that is not the case. But it still doesn't negate the fact that this medic left the doors unlocked with the keys in the ignition running. A diesel bit, and this isn't one of those fucking smaller ambulances. This is one of those big.
Yeah, it was like a 450. Tanks. Yeah, it was a 3-ton or a 4-ton truck. Yeah, big truck.
The damage that did to the back, because it slammed into the back of her car, it totaled the car. Like, it's total. Really? Oh, it's total. I am super grateful that she's okay. That her injuries are a lot less than some of the other folks that got hit. But what irritated me was that was 13 preventable accidents. And then on top of that, when we talk about pursuits, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, so maybe 50% of you out there are not going to agree with the way I feel about pursuits. I am not in favor of a lot of pursuits, and I'll tell you why. Because unless there's bodily danger, like there was a gun involved, a murder or something like that, if it's a property crime, the amount of collateral damage that you cause during that pursuit is unbelievable. And anytime you have a pursuit, and you can speak to this as a former sergeant, you need to look at a lot of different factors: the environment, the weather, the amount of people that are out there, the congestion. This was DC, okay? This isn't rural fucking Iowa. This is DC on a Saturday at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Which is the worst time in the world, but I'm going to challenge you on your statement. Keep going.
Guy, yeah, and that's what I love.
No, go ahead and finish up. I was unable to shut my mouth long enough.
No, you're good. And my thing with this particular incident is, do I think that there should have been a pursuit, or were there other alternatives? We're in D.C. metro area, where we have so many federal and local agencies that have birds helicopters. It's a big red fucking ambulance.
Did they have a helicopter up that day?
Fuck no.
Of course not.
Did they have one?
All weather aircraft with fair weather pilots. So go ahead.
Fairfax 1.
I'm sorry, air units. I'm just fucking with you guys. You know I love each and every one of you.
Yeah, Fairfax 1, Fairfax County Police Department, which is stellar. They could have had a bird in the air in 5 minutes. And it's a big red fucking ambulance with a number on top of it.
Right.
And what ultimately wound up happening is it drove in to the federal district of DC, and a treasury officer, fucking
treasury
big
officer,
suburban, treasury uniformed officer. So those of you that make fun of them, don't. He had a big Suburban, and he slammed into the ambulance head on. And I don't know what the fuck that Suburban was made out of, bro, but the pictures, it doesn't even look like that dude has a fucking dent on his Suburban.
No, it was probably armored, and I hope he's okay. Because
me
guys,
too.
Boys and girls, okay, just let me tell you a little bit about Mark the Cop. I've been training in pursuit ideology, and I'm a train the trainer in that. Okay, I've been around the world. I've trained at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, the state, you name it. I've been there. I've done it. I know a little bit about driving. I know a little bit about pursuits. Nick, you're 100% correct,
but wrong.
Providing with the fact that could we have done better? Number one, with this medic, we have a thing called Secure Idle, and Ford Motor Company, because I was honored to be a part of the Ford Police Advisory Board. Your new police interceptor utilities have Secure Idle on them, provided your fleet manager ordered it. And that's simply where you push the button, shut the key off, and get out. So that car is not functioning. It's still running, okay, but it's secure. Shout out to my friend Mark Tremblay with Trimco Products. That's another aftermarket product that you can put on that prevents the vehicle from being stolen.
Is that the bubble?
Yes, I hate those things, dude. We got to
do a show on that. We got to do a show on that.
Well, there's pros and cons, but you got to train with it, man. You got to train with it. We had
you look like an idiot trying to fucking find that bubble, like your foot. You're trying, because it was never installed in the same fucking spot. At least in my agency, it was always like upper left hand corner, down lower left hand corner, middle. It never made any fucking sense. So when you would get in a cruiser, it looked like you were fucking tap dancing inside of the fucking driver's seat.
Trying to find it.
You know, there's people listening to this right now, and they're like, "Yes,
yeah." And it's not the product's fault; it's the installer's fault.
It's the installer. It's not.
A lot of complaints we fielded on the board about the product wasn't the product. It's not the dumb motherfucker putting it together. Because
it's a great product.
Yes, some moron in the shop that isn't smart enough to take out a camera and say, "Oh, this one's laid out really nice. Let's build the next one like it," and take pictures. But anyway, I don't want to talk about installs because we can do a whole show on that. So, and Secure Idle, it was an aftermarket product, and now a lot of the manufacturers are incorporating it from the factory. And I'm pretty sure the new Ford products for EMS and the like can have that. I'm pretty sure of that. If I'm wrong, please email me, mark@rollcallroom.com, or Nick at rollcallroom.com, or just
I'll tell you when my lawsuit ends whether or not they had it.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. So number one, it was preventable. Sorry, I missed the joke.
Yeah.
I guess my mind was on tech shit.
No, you good.
Right. Yeah. How it ends, is that what you said?
Yeah. Whether or not I'm wearing a fucking gold necklace in a couple of months, you'll know whether or not I settle.
Have a grill.
Yeah. Post Malone,
and the big
Nick.
wide gold frame glasses.
Yeah. Call me Pimp from now on.
Yeah, Nick D, or Nicker, no, whatever, Nick R. Anyway, the prevention of the vehicle being stolen. So at my agency, where I was going with that is because we were certified to use a precision mobilization technique, or the PIT. You know, public safety vehicles, because our EMS did the same shit. I mean, they had their first responder car, which is usually another utility like what we drove as police officers, and they roll up, doors open, car running, grab the duty bag and run in. It's like, guys, you need to be securing these cars. Oh, they're never going to take them. Bullshit, they won't. So in Montgomery County, Ohio, one year we had some knucklehead got in a fight with his dad, took off, stole dad's truck, crashed it. So the Riverside Division of Police showed up for the crash. And this asshole gets out and starts a confrontation with the officer, steals the officer's cruiser. Now, I'd have been in there with my hand on the gear shift selector, drilling this guy in the face. But
yeah,
different strokes for different folks. So the second officer shows up and rams the first officer's car and then just takes them out. So, again, no training with any type of pursuit termination technique. So this guy steals this cruiser, ends up killing an entire family in downtown Dayton, Ohio. He broadsides a minivan full of people. And literally, it was the most tragic thing. It's so heartbreaking. And then shortly after that, we had a Montgomery County Sheriff's cruiser get stolen because the deputy left the fucking slide glass open, left the prisoner unattended. He slipped the cuffs, crawled through, and took the car.
Yeah.
So I went to my boss and I said, look, I know you're still a little raw over the pursuit we had where we killed a guy. So he changed the policy to violent felonies only, to commit or about to commit a violent felony, which, okay, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
What about stolen public safety vehicle? We should have it in our policy. And I said, send it up the chain. Hell, send it up to the Attorney General's office. See what they do on it. Because at the time, our Attorney General, Mike DeWine, was like, no property crimes, So I said, this isn't Uncle Bill's fucking pickup truck. This is a goddamn, like in your case, this is a medic. We're not going to let that thing go. We should be pulling out all stops to get this public safety vehicle stopped, correct?
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to stop a big 4-ton medic is with another 4-ton car.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the Treasury guy with an armored SUV probably went through that thing like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with this is that fleet managers and administrators, we know you're listening to this because you want to hear we're like the Howard Sterns of law enforcement podcasts. What are we going to say next and who are we picking on today? So take out pen and paper and write this down. Secure idle. Install it on all your products. Encourage your officers to keep their cars secure. And if you have a prisoner in the back, don't fucking leave. And this is for the people listening. Have someone have eyes on that, because on all my scenes, I never left. I was the guy in the background watching these dipshits, and at night, I would even turn my takedowns on. Oh, I know you're back there. You goddamn right. I want you to know I'm back here. So don't do anything fucking stupid. I'd tell the prisoners that. But it gets back to Nick, do your job. Your job is to keep this guy in custody, and you're responsible for him. From the time you say those magic words, you're under arrest.
Well, I would venture to say that this medic, I don't think will ever leave his rig open and do that again, because
he's probably been terminated.
I don't know.
Probably relegated back to take. Yeah.
Or he's probably going to be a passenger for a long time. I would say that. Because
put on the Iggy Pop. I am the passenger.
If I was the fire chief and I saw that on the news, I would have been embarrassed. I know that they are pretty pissed about it, because again, 13 vehicles got hit with that ambulance. And here's the best, not the best part, but this is the frustrating part, is, and I only learned this from the attorney, which is the moment an emergency vehicle gets stolen, it is automatically no fault insurance. It is automatically not the municipality's fault what happens after that.
Okay, so that's in Virginia. I'm going to have to throw some questions out there. My attorney friends get ready for a phone call. So who's held liable?
You have to sue.
Like in Scott v. Harris, that case law where the agency, because in the holdings, Supreme Court holdings on that is that Deputy Scott was not found liable for chasing Victor Harris, because at any time Victor Harris could have stopped. So in that light, the jackass that stole the fucking thing, did they get him and did he survive?
So with this one, they ultimately got him, and they had to give him Narcan. So that goes to tell you
high as fuck.
His state. Yeah. So there's only two ways to handle this legally, to get the car, compensation for the car, is sue the shitbag, where you'll never fucking see a red cent, because
blood out of a turnip.
Yeah, they'll pay 50 cents a year for the next fucking 100 years,
or nothing at all.
The other thing is to sue your own insurance, because you have no fault, you have uninsured motorist insurance. That's the option. Or you can take a roll at the dice and you can sue the county who owns the ambulance or the emergency vehicle, but you're not going to win because between sovereign immunity and this particular clause, which is the moment emergency vehicle gets stolen, they wash their hands of it. They can't. You'd have to prove neglect. You'd have to prove willful neglect, that this medic, as they were jumping out of the car, they were like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care about my car. They're going to go into court and they're going to turn around and say, hey, listen, there was a 3-car pileup, an overturned car. My focus was on rendering aid to that, to those people. And any jury in the world is going to be like, yeah, well, of course your brain was not focused on locking your car and taking the keys out of the ignition. So do you want to pay $50,000 to go into litigation and get nothing out of it? Or, like it educated me, because when I got on the phone with the attorney, I was thinking to myself, oh, we're going to just sue the county and then, money's going to start flying. But that's not the case. That's not the case.
No, that's a naive thought, Nick. I love you, brother, but that's naive. That
and by a lot of money, I was like, we can get her, a $8,000-$9,000 used car, pay it, and then move on with our lives. And now it's like, that's not the case. So
you're going to pay the attorney a lot of money. You ain't getting shit. You may be lucky to get your hospital bills and your car covered, but other than that, then that's all the money you're going.
So we're going in a different we're going in a different route, which is the safer route. It's not worth going through fighting a county or a city. It's just not worth it. Because they're gonna delay it. They're gonna spend 2-3 years litigating this thing.
That's the goal. As long as you hire an attorney, we have them on staff, and we will drag this out for years.
Yeah,
as long as you're paying that $3.45 an hour.
Yeah, and that's why I bring it up, which is that if you are a supervisor or you are an officer, think about these things, because your neglect or you thinking that, hey, I want to come back to an air conditioned car when I get done with this scene, can ultimately cause collateral damage that you're going to have to live with. Like this medic, when he put his head on the pillow that night, has to come to terms with, he caused 13 separate accidents. And there's a lot of injured people. There's a lot of trauma too. Like, my daughter's a young driver. She's younger. She's got severe like PTSD now. Like, she didn't want to drive, and she needs to drive to go to work and go to school and do all that stuff. But
sure, but really that can be healed. I mean, we have, and she's got to
suck it up. Stop being a fucking little bitch. I said, Dad didn't
I was
going
to get all warm and fuzzy, and you're like,
no, fuck that. I was like, fucking listen, I don't have time for those tears. I need you to fucking I need you to
focus on getting your ass to work and paying me.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Save those fucking tears for TikTok. All right. Now get the fuck out there and get to work.
I got thrown off my horse the other day, and
you did. I felt bad.
Oh yeah, cracked some ribs and all that, and it was in a clinic, meeting a training session with it, because I'm a junior horseman, and they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You getting back on?" I said, "Fuck yeah, I am." Get right back in the saddle. So that's, you've heard that all along, but my horse was funny. He looked at me, he's like, "You good?" "Yeah." Took off back to the barn.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Fucking prick.
I never told you this. Like, when you messaged me that you got thrown off your horse and hurt, the first thing I thought of was the video of the dude getting fucked by a horse. I was like,
no, that was when I left my career.
Yeah.
That was why I left my career.
Law enforcement is the horse cock.
That's right.
And we have both been in that video. We have both felt that fucking zucchini.
Well, they tried. Okay. So just so you all know out there, we are a public safety service podcast. Yeah. So, we're here for resources for you, but let me tell you something. They will fuck us once, but let me tell you, every time we get on the microphones, we fuck them back.
Yeah.
Because I know, and Sergeant Smith, I'm glad you're listening. Just a little throw out there. I know they listen. They listen to every show, and then and thank you. So while you're listening, please go ahead and hit that 5-star and leave us a positive review, because we or a what?
Or a 1-star, like you do to my books.
We know all the negative comments and who they're coming from. You're not that stupid.
I love it.
And by the way, when you're creeping me on LinkedIn, I can see it's you. Even though you try to go in and hide, there's a way where I can see who it is. So just stop it.
I'm sadistic. I like the 1-stars. Gives me goosebumps. I love them.
Well, I've always been the type of guy that I don't want to hear, oh, you're so wonderful. I can look in the mirror and do that. Tell me what's doing wrong. Tell me what you don't like. And good leaders want that. I love that. I quoted you the other day in a post. They were talking about, and I was talking about the bobblehead crew that sits around the command staff table, and they're, oh yeah, Chief, that's the fucking greatest thing in the world. Yeah, say no once.
Yeah, see what happens.
What?
Yeah,
happens. Oh, see how quick you're pitched off the island, bro.
I mean, our motto. I mean, if you could sum up our motto, I was listening to Post Malone the other day, put out a new album, and I really like him. And I'm fixated on this song that he put out, and it really, really sums up our podcast. And I wrote it down on my fucking Alzheimer's notepad, and it said it says no cover fee at the gates of hell, no VIP. And that really, really sums up like how I feel towards a lot of the fucking leadership in law enforcement. There is no cover fee at the gates of hell, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of them are going to have to do some major repenting between the damages that they do to people, the things that they do when people leave. Like I can name a lot of fucking people at my agency right now where, they're living it up right now. They're commanders right now. They've been promoted through the ranks. But you're going to have to leave eventually. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, that room is really fucking empty when you leave. And the more people
no longer the most important slice of bread in the loaf, boys.
Yep. Had a former commander of mine. You know what? I can't tell that story because I really don't want to get my daughter in trouble. So I'm gonna
so we'll just let that go. Where I wanted to go, what you did was you sparked some thought for me with where they had a former assistant chief that retired. Hey, thanks for the time. Blah 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 blah. And because the guy was just kind of a prick. Nobody returns his phone calls now. No, I always wanted to be the chief or the sheriff. When I had that mindset, Montgomery County had a sheriff named Tom Wilson, and those men loved that guy, loved him. And you talk about him today in the old hats. Oh yeah, the high sheriff. They all smile. It's kind of like my old boss, and I had coffee with his widow the other day. Hi, Jan, if you're listening. Like my old boss, he taught me more about being a man. And, he was kind of that father figure. Now, he had his quirks. I mean, he wasn't perfect. But, he's the one that facilitated the opportunities for me instead of shut up and go write tickets. He's like, hey, man, what do you want to do? And he helped facilitate that. So he had that leader, just good, strong leadership. But you don't have that anymore. And, well, I shouldn't say that. In my orbit, it's few and far between. I mean, it's still there. But I think they get so watered down with the lack of taking care of the people. So I get right back to, take it right back to earlier in the show. Guys, start taking care of your folks. Take care of your people.
And I think there's a fear of going against the grain right now. Like if you're
absolutely.
If you're an outliner, like if you're one of those people that became a sergeant like you and I did, or a lieutenant like I wanted to do, and you want to change the culture right now, the atmosphere, it's not very welcoming. Right. And you see folks like you and me and other podcasts that are out there, you hear these stories of people that, like you said, be in a conference room one time and disagree, see what happens to you. See what happens to your career.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just try it on something small first. Like all these folks that are out there that are like, oh, you guys, all you do on your podcast is bitch and moan. Okay, do me a favor then. Go in roll call and disagree about something small. Really, really small. Something minute. Say, hey, listen, the fucking locker room smells too much, or something stupid. Go ahead, speak up. I dare you. See what fucking happens, and then you tell me that we're wrong. Then you email me at nick@rollcallroom.com and you say, you know what, you were wrong. Because wrong. I went in roll call and I disagreed, and everybody was like, yeah, it does smell in that locker room. Let's all go out and buy Febreze and we'll all go clean it up. Yeah, that's what's going to fucking happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen.
When you put in for training and it's denied, or you want that certain day off and it's denied, or you want that special duty, it's denied.
Ask
so funny gag.
We had 2 weekends off. Ask for 2 weekends off. Start
not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Exactly. We had a guy because he hated the guy that came in on second shift. So he would go in there about a half hour before he was always due there, because the guy was always early and got ready. He was pretty squared away, but these two were in dispute. So he would go in there, and our fart fan in the men's room was broke. So there wasn't a door between the shitter and the locker room. So he'd go in there, and this guy took supplements and just would peel the fucking paint.
Oh my God.
So this other guy had to stand in the locker room and smell this guy's ass.
Oh my God. The things you miss, huh?
Oh yeah. No, the funny stuff. Well, see, it finally got down to the point where we had a directive that there's to be no more practical jokes. And I said, boys, this is the beginning of the end.
Yep.
This is the beginning. We have lost ourselves as an agency, because that was one thing, and I've been the butt of those jokes, and you just got to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
But when we got that directive, there's to be no laughing. I felt like I was on Footloose. There's no dancing in here. It's like,
it's not here, you're not family anymore. It's a business. Law enforcement is a business. It's a profit and loss business. Mm-hmm. And the sooner you realize that, the better. You are just a businessman or a businesswoman in a business world, because the real folks that are running those law enforcement departments are your mayors and your city council, and far above you. They have far more influence than case law. They have far more influence than a lot of things, and they will use policies and city rules to do whatever they have to do to meet their agenda. And the sooner you realize that, the absolute better. And if you're going to be in the business world, then you should be paid like a business person.
Yeah.
And we say it a million times. Now is the time to get out, because there are tons and tons of companies out there that are hiring former law enforcement left and fucking right. I get emails, I get messages in my LinkedIn from recruiters every fucking day.
Really?
Asking, hey, do you want to leave where you're working? Fuck no, I don't want to leave. I am in a mindset.
No, I'm happy. I'm making money. And
yeah, if I'm happy, and I'm surrounded by great leaders. I am just, I am in my element. Like I love turning around and having people that disagree, but disagree in a professional way.
Like you and I do. We don't agree on everything.
No.
And when you asked me to be a part of this great show, I said, well, brother, you think you're hiring a fucking bobblehead? No.
I already,
and that's why we're such great friends.
I already had one. So.
Hey, you know what it's time for?
Oh.
Nick's Picks.
Nick's Picks.
It's time for Nick's Picks. Yes. Then we have a question on the table that came in.
New segment, folks, at the end of the episode. It's called Nick's Picks. So somebody's going to submit a question, and then we're going to talk about it. So our question was submitted by our very own the Kelly from the Shield Within, right?
Yes.
And her question was, do you find it difficult now that you're out of law enforcement to watch shows like Live PD and Cops? And it was very interesting because she had put it in our group chat that we have with your team from the Shield Within. And I chimed up right away. I put in there, I was like, oh my God, yeah. Like I used to, that's one of the thing that made me want to be a cop was the show Cops.
Yes.
It was the episode. It was the Mel episode. That's what made me
get
want
on
to
it,
be
Mel.
Get on it, Mel.
Stay tuned.
And I watched Cops when I was a cop. I watched Live PD when I was a cop. And when I became a supervisor, I would yell at the TV because I would see stuff.
Me too.
Me too, right? Now because it's in my, I watch YouTube a lot on my TV,
Right.
and it is in my suggested, and I don't know why it is, because I haven't watched those videos in over a year. But live PD clips are on my YouTube, and I cannot watch them.
Yeah, I don't watch them either.
Now I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, it went from being a supervisor to now being like, dude, you're gonna get fired. Like,
oh yeah,
you are fucking that up. So I don't watch YouTube videos like cops or anything, but there was a suggestion of a delivery driver that works for the company that I work for, and they did a traffic stop on him. And I was a big DUI guy. Like, I used to get 100 of them a year. That's how much I was into it, right?
Enforcement. Yeah. Impaired driver enforcement.
And so they start doing FSTs on this fucking delivery driver, and they're fucking atrocious, Mark.
Why?
Atrocious. It was their body cam footage. What were
the indicators? What's your initial contact?
The body
drunk?
cam. Oh, he was definitely drunk too. So he like the body cam footage starts with the cop behind the delivery van, and he's riding up on the curb and then coming off.
Well, there's
riding
a
up on the
vehicle in motion. Okay.
So he does the traffic stop, and he starts doing some of the FSTs with the guy still in the driver's seat.
Oh, good God.
And he's like, hey, could you do the alphabet? Can you tell me the alphabet from A to, I don't know, fucking C? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
And he's
even ABC.
Well, I always love the fucking cops that did. Can you tell me the alphabet backwards?
Yeah. No.
That's getting thrown out of court.
Can you?
Even sober people can't even fucking do that. But he starts he starts doing the FSTs with the driver in the fucking vehicle, and the body cam footage can't even hear what the guy is saying. So if you're trying to use that body cam footage in court, and it gets progressively worse. He pulls him out, and he's doing the walk and turn with his gun side facing the guy, and it's just he's not explaining the FSTs correctly. He doesn't ask him if he's diabetic. He doesn't ask him if he's got disabilities. He doesn't ask if he's had recent surgery on his legs.
Head injury.
He doesn't ask the head injury. All these basic questions that those of us that have been cross-examined by a defense attorney, a good DUI defense attorney, you'll only fuck that up once. I can tell you that.
That's right. Yeah.
So to Kelly's question, it kind of triggers a lot of PTSD. It used to interest me by watching those. I used to like watching them because I enjoyed the job. And now it gives me some sort of anxiety and some PTSD where I watch it and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm so glad I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just so fucking glad. So to Kelly's question, I am one of those. I think you said you're the same, right?
Yeah, I don't watch. I don't watch that stuff anymore. I don't watch old cop shows anymore because I used to love watching. You know, when I grew up watching Adam 12.
I used to watch Blue Bloods. Blue Bloods was my new favorite. I like that only because Tom
early
Selleck.
2000s, right?
Yeah, but I was still a cop then. Yeah, and I the shows that I watch now, which is really weird. I watch 48 Hours, not the first 48 Hours. I used to watch that. I watched
the one.
I watch the crime ones where they're like a murder happened and then they slowly start to tell you how they discovered. My wife and I really like watching that stuff, but as far as like first 48,
Southland was my favorite.
Yeah, The Shield.
Yeah, The Shield was good.
That was great.
Yeah, with
Michael
Tony.
Chiklis.
Yes,
yeah, Michael Chiklis was amazing.
That was great character development. But I don't watch any of that anymore. You know,
Susan
and I spend our time watching MASH and
MASH.
the Andy
I love
Griffith
MASH.
Show.
Yeah, no, I'm too young for that.
Happy stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can be too young for it, but it's just like, you know, I don't want anything that's controversial. I don't want to hear about.
No, I don't want. I hate politics involved in all my shit.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I hate now watching new shit, and it's like you're like, okay, there's got to be this person in there and that person in there, so it's inclusive, and it man, we can get in the whole.
You know, I just want to watch something that's funny. I want to unplug.
Stand up is my
me
favorite now.
Oh,
Stand up
gosh,
is my
yes.
favorite now. I
And
mean,
I
Tom
love
Segura.
Ron White. Ron, if you're
Tom's-
listening, I don't like your new hair, but you're funny as fuck still. So
Tom Segura is my
yes.
go-to. He makes me die laughing. Bert Kreischer makes me laugh.
Yep.
Theo Vaughn,
Mhm.
Santino. I mean, there's just that whole crew of Tom Segura people just make me die laughing. And I love them because they don't interject politics. And when they do interject politics, it's like Dave Chappelle, who I absolutely love. He hits both sides.
He now lives in Ohio.
Yes. Well, he grew like, like he lives in a small town and stuff. And
Yellow Springs.
yeah, I just so to answer Kelly's thing and to wrap up our episode is that yeah, I think a lot of former LE can kind of concur that you are not alone if it triggers for you, because I know it does for me. So great question. But we're gonna wrap up this episode. It's been a little over an hour here.
Oh wow, that was quick.
Yeah, no,
that's how you know it's good when you don't know you don't really have a concept of time. That's how you know
you
things
and I
are going well in your show.
Yeah, you and I will beat ourselves up about whether or not it came out good. So
every show, just so you all know, every show I text Nick like an hour later, going, "Oh my god, that was horrible. Can we just delete it?" And you're like, "No,
no." But listen, a couple of things, some housekeeping. Put out a new book, Police Mental Barricade Volume 2.
Very good.
It's out on Amazon, and it is no longer shadow banned. So I was able to lift the shadow ban because I discovered that you couldn't find my book on Amazon. So now you can. So just type in my name or just Police Mental Barricade and it'll come up. Appreciate the support. I made this book, the Volume 2, I made it cheap so everybody can afford it. It's a quick read. And the one and only Mark the Cop over here wrote one of the forwards, which I greatly appreciate. And next episode, we'll talk a little bit about that. You can get a hold of me at nick@rollcallroom.com. Or if you're from my former agency and you still have my cell phone number, you can give me a call. Don't call me. You can text message me because there's been a couple of people that have reached out and are like, hey, so-and-so wants to reach out to you. And I'm like, tell them don't. But then you can get a hold of Mark at MARC, not K.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
MARC at rollcallroom.com. And you can check us out at rollcallroom.com. Check out our content on there. And Mark, what do you got for us to close us out?
Well, I always appreciate you throwing it to me there to end up. So go to our social media. We would appreciate some likes and some interaction. We always try and put funny content up there every day to keep you all entertained. Be safe out there.
Yes.
Believe me, if your command staff is not telling you face to face, hey, I appreciate you, anyone can send you an email, but it's a tough job right now. And I'm really, really enthusiastic that the numbers are coming back in the police academies. Current class we got in right now is over 25 at the community college level. And I know a lot of the other police agencies are having more and more coming out. So thank you all very much for willing to put yourself out there. It is a great career when it's good.
Yeah.
But remember, trust is to be earned. Trust should never be given. My problem was I trusted people too soon. And when things started going sideways, I thought they had me and they didn't. And that's a special kind of betrayal and hurt that you'll go through. So we always talk about keeping your brain bucket. Well, if you don't have a relationship with a therapist,
get one.
Find one. Yeah, get it done now. Just do 15-minute checkup, because I can tell you right now, I worked 9 years before my shit went sideways, and it's better to have that relationship already built than to be sitting there going, what do you mean it's going to be 4 weeks before you can see me? So if you've already done all that intake, you just give them a call up and they say, we'll get you in next week. So there's the difference, and it can potentially happen to you. Take care of your brain bucket. If you work that 5 hours of overtime, 5 hours comp time right behind it. Have that great work-life balance. Remember the 4 F's: family, faith, friends' favorite activities. Get back to it. It's a job. I loved my job, but remember, it won't love you back. So that's it.
Amen. All right, folks, take good care of each other and be good to each other. All right.